Hey, welcome back to Sandhurst 2022. My name is Cadet Noah Kim, and this is Cadet Seth Bolden, and we're back.
Hey, y'all, I'm Cadet Seth Bolden from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm from I-2, and we're excited to bring you to the Zodiac lane today. The Zodiac lane, so we have several teams competing today. Noah, do you want to say what teams are here?
Yeah, the teams that we have right now are the Coast Guard, the United Kingdom, the United States Military Academy Preparatory School, and the United States Coast Guard Academy, all here representing at this moment at the Zodiac lane. You want to walk us through what the Zodiac lane exactly is?
Yeah, so first of all, the Zodiac lane, we have the starting line a little bit back there. We have two teams going at a time. There's a total of 4. So first, they will run down. There's a little road right here. They pick up a casualty. They escort the casualty back to the starting line. And then after that, they grab one of the Zodiac boats. They put it in the water, and then they do a race around Lusk Reservoir, upon which they have to bring the boats back and place them back at the starting line. So, I mean, it's pretty brutal out here today, and it really challenges the team's coordination and then their mental toughness.
Yeah, speaking more on that, the water itself is extremely cold right now. We're at a brisk 43 degrees with wind chill, and they're going to be swimming. They're going to be rowing their boats against the wind and against the current for the first couple opportunities. So moving into more of how it works is that they synchronize with their rowing movements. So if their paddles are all out of sync, then they're not going to be going fast, and they're going to let other teams go up against them. And that's why this is such a big emphasis on teamwork for this lane. Not only do they have to be physically fit in getting their boats and pushing them all the way across the water, they also be extremely in sync with each other and make sure that they're paddling at the same rate.
And yeah, I mean, just going off of that coordination that they need, right? So even when you're in the boat, you have to balance your boat, right? You have to have strong members on each side, those that have strengths within that. And then even when you're carrying the boat, right? So these teams have to lift the boat over their head. So you have taller members of the team and shorter members of the team, but it has to be equally distributed so that they can continue to compete the event and that all members can get through it. And I just want to emphasize again, it is cold out here. It is just standing out here. It's a little chilly. You know, I have a waffle top under this, but yeah, the teams are really pushing it to complete this event today.
And not only that, the boats are so heavy. I tried I went up to the side of one of the boats and lifted one of the handles up. I don't know how they're doing this. And they got to put it above their heads, and they got to put a casualty on top of that boat when they carry it.
This would be a good day to be able to bench 225. I think that's probably a component of training for this kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, just going into a little bit of the preparation for these kind of things. Right before this, had a conversation with some of the team members from UK team, UK Red, and just talking about the preparation of this. So how they select their members of this team is actually very interesting. So not USMA Sandhurst, UK Sandhurst. First of all, it's a 1-year academy time, right? So they go to school and get the degrees beforehand. And so they pick the best of their school. They have a pool of 60 to start with. Then they narrow it down to the members that come here. And so when you're selecting team members for this, you know, they want to be strong, have a lot of muscular endurance, and then also a lot of cardiovascular endurance to be able to make the movements in between and then do these events. So, I mean, it's crazy, you know. It's wild out here.
And then speaking more on preparation for another team, we have a coach with us from the United States Coast Guard Academy. If you'd like to come in.
Yeah, Aaron, come here real quick. Hi, so Aaron, just tell us a little bit about yourself and just what brings you here today other than the obvious reason.
Roger. So I'm a cadet second class Aaron Modis from the Coast Guard Academy, originally from Alaska. That's what brought me to the Coast Guard. And here today, coaching on the Coast Guard team for Sandhurst, and really excited for this special event. Last year we placed second, and it was a pretty big moment for us. So we're hoping to do it again.
Right on.
Tell us more about how the Coast Guard team prepared for this competition.
Roger. So this team, I think our special tactic that we use is we have someone in the back as a tiller. And so while we only have 7 people rowing, that extra person gives us the accuracy of like where we want to steer to, and we can get right where we're going as fast as possible and not have to worry as much about synchronization. Although, like you said, that is a big part. Having everyone row together as a team is crucial to getting perfect power transmission to the water.
So do you feel like there's a little bit of an advantage at this event, the Zodiac lane, when you're all on the water for the Coast Guard Academy?
Possibly. Not to brag, but the Coast Guard's pretty good at boating. So hopefully you guys give us a little advantage, and we're definitely here excited to show our powers.
Well, the West Point team is just going to have to show you up on land then. So moving on. So something about this week is it's the Inspiration to Serve Week. So this week is all about finding reasons why we joined the academy, why we joined the military. So I wanted to ask you, why did you decide to serve with the Coast Guard, and why did you serve in general?
So growing up in Alaska, Coast Guard has one of their biggest bases in Zodiac. And so they did search and rescue all the time, saving fishermen and hunters. And it was such a big impact on our community that I thought it was something I wanted to be a part of. My brother also went to the academy before I did, so it's definitely kind of a lineage thing, and really respect my brother. And so going to their academy was definitely a choice that I wanted to pursue. And the Coast Guard as a whole, the service, how it serves the country and the people, and it's on a very personal level. And it's also a smaller scale. So the people you work with, you get to build friendships and relationships with throughout your entire career, which is another reason why I love Sandhurst, because you get to meet some more people and really international connections.
That's amazing. So I know for West Point, we have a branching process where you can go into different communities within the Army. So after you graduate and commission, what are you looking to do in the Coast Guard?
So after the Coast Guard, after the Coast Guard Academy, I plan to go in a black hole. Buoy tenders, what their function is, and they can be in Maine. Might go to East Coast, around Oregon, or even back to Alaska would be pretty awesome. But definitely more of like a closer, more community type service that the Coast Guard does. And they monitor buoy systems and passageways, and so it's safe for all the fishermen and all the fishing and maritime activities. And it works closely with community.
I don't do that. That's amazing. One thing that really inspires me, right, is just like having these sister service academies here, right? Because I mean, it really shows that like we're a lot of different teams, but it's one fight, right? And then we all have different jobs to do in the service to our country. And so, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing that about yourself. But like going back to the event itself, right? So I want to hear about how you guys prepared for this as an institution, because like I know you guys said you're good at boats, I'd hope you would be. But like when you're preparing for these warrior tasks and drills that are kind of out of line of what you guys normally do, how do you go about tackling that?
Roger. So that's definitely an obstacle we have. There's some access that we don't have or to resources that's more Army specific. So it's definitely been a couple years process, but through this entire semester, we train. And for Zodiacs personally, we have a river, Thames River, and we practice. We go out in the river, row laps back and forth, hundreds of yards, and it's definitely something that we take all year doing. And we have for previous years, we've gotten resources from other academies as well, and so the training is definitely pretty extensive.
Thank you so much, Cadet Motors. Thank you so much for coming out and speaking on behalf of the Coast Guard Academy. Any last words to say?
Go Bears, beat Navy.
All right, beat Navy. Absolutely. Thank you.
That's amazing. Appreciate it.
All right. So wrapping it up, we have the first team coming across carrying their boats right now, but and it looks like they're the Coast Guard Academy, I believe, running this boat all the way back. Of course, the Coast Guard Academy had their little extra prep on the water to get there, but looking at them carrying that boat and look at how heavy it is right now, it's actually a miserable experience, I think.
And, I think this really goes to show, too, like when you're talking about that extra preparation that they have, the different skills that each academy and each service has with these kind of events that we're doing today. So, I mean, it's exciting. Right behind us, you can see that they're bringing in the boat. I hope you guys can see how heavy it looks from this angle. But, I mean, it looks like they're finishing strong. And talking to the teams before this, so it seemed like UK Red came in first, and then USMA Prep came in very closely after. And so as this team finishes up, they'll have a little extra time in between this event and the movement to the next event. So, I mean, that's really exciting to see. I also would like to highlight USMA Prep, right? So for those of you back home that don't know what USMA Prep is, that is the preparatory academy to come into West Point after a year there. And so these are a lot of individuals straight out of high school. There's also a lot of prior enlisted folks within their ranks. And they're competing against West Point teams that have been practicing for this for 4 years, some of them. And so it's really cool to see them out here this year. No, you didn't go to prep, right? But
no, I didn't.
A lot of people that that went to prep that are competing in this event.
I know a few people that are competing in this event, and those prepsters, I'll tell you, they have some real grit. They aren't they don't have the same level of experience that some of these like cadets or different like universities. They have been training for this for years to be able to come to this, and these a lot of these prep schools only have 1 year at the academy, so they have very limited time to get ready and get going. And it's such a great thing to see them out here giving it their all and really showing what it means to be able to have true determination to succeed. And speaking more about like what this week was leading up to, we talked about this before, but something we wanted to re-emphasize was this is like a huge the Sandhurst 2022 is not only a military skills competition, but the culminating event of the Inspiration to Serve Week. During this week, we had multiple events, including having each one of the class of 24 go to the West Point Cemetery and really dig into why they want to serve and the sacrifice that other people have made so that they can serve. If you want to speak a little more about some of the other Inspiration to Serve events.
Yeah, so the other Inspiration to Serve events, so at West Point, we have the character pillar. And the character pillar is huge because it helps develop the values and morals that we take into our everyday lives, but then also into our military service. So, I mean, we had things like this, not the stand down day, the denim day, right? And so the denim day is run by the SHARP program here. And over the past couple of years, we've had a huge push and emphasis at the academy to learn about those different perspectives with gender issues, and then even bleeding into other things like racial issues, and just respect within our country. So, I mean, it's great to have these kind of things and these kind of conversations at West Point. And that Inspiration to Serve, what he talked a little bit about of the walk in the cemetery, that was huge for me because hearing those stories about those that have come and served before me, those that have graduated and then within a year or two found themselves in combat and paid the ultimate price for the country. I mean, that's huge. And as a 19, 20-year-old, like that has a profound effect on your development. And so, no, I don't. What did that experience mean to you?
I mean, for me, it really reminded me of why I joined the Army in the first place, why I joined West Point. We toured this grave, and one of the grave sites was a Korean War veteran. Was someone that served and died in the Korean War, and it reminded me of what the opportunity that the United States Army gave for me. It allowed my family to escape the horrors of North Korea. It allowed my family to make it all the way to the United States and have a great, amazing life. And I owe it to the U.S. Army. I owe it to the U.S. military to serve back and give back. And that's inspired me to serve because so many people have died saving my ancestral homeland. But just bringing it back to the action real quick, what you just saw was the USMA's team taking in, the Campbell University team taking their boats all the way back in. If you saw any of those faces, you saw how hard they were pushing to carry those boats. Again, we keep mentioning it looks like they're little inflatable balloons, but those are rigid line Zodiac boats. These are extremely heavy and take a lot of toll just to carry. And they just spent the entire time paddling against the current, against the wind and the water. That's crazy to me.
I mean, and like too, I just want to emphasize the Campbell team, right? So like these ROTC teams, right? They're coming here, and then not just ROTC, but the foreign teams, like they're traveling different time zones and everything. The Australia team, I believe, traveled 10,000 miles to get to West Point to compete here today. And I think a similar thing can be said for a lot of our allied partner countries that sent teams over here to compete. Right here, we have another team carrying it in. This is the
United States Military Academy preparatory team taking it through. And you see this absolute struggle that these teams are going through, and they've been up and doing this all time. So leading back to what we were talking about before, and I think we're closing out our little stream soon. So I wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to Sandhurst 2022. We'll be back at
I believe it's probably around 1300. We'll be back in the afternoon to continue the coverage of USMA 22 Sandhurst.